Welcome to Venture Podcast, presented by VNTR, the world's leading investors community, the place to learn from VCs and capital allocators.
The analogy I use for where we are as an industry, the Web3 industry, is it feels very much to me like 1993 internet. The internet had been around, at that time, 25 years, so it wasn't new. But still, nobody really used it because it was too hard. It was too complicated. And then Mark Andreessen brought us the browser, and everything changed. And so, for me today, I don't think anybody really knows what the winners are going to be. We bought the top level domain .tv from the island nation of Tuvalu for 50 million over 10 years in 1999. And that company was started out of the Idea Lab accelerator. I was the 55th company to be started out of the Idea Lab incubator. And a month after I joined, they raised $1 billion at a $10 billion market cap.
Hey guys, welcome to VNTR podcast. We have Lou Kerner today as a guest. Welcome, Lou. It will be great to have a quick introduction by you, and then we prepared some cool questions to learn more about your activity. And please introduce yourself and we can start.
All right, terrific. Thanks, Yuri. Thanks, Nico, for having me today. Real quick, by way of background, I was a Wall Street analyst for the first third of my career. I ran two digital companies, the second of which was called Bolt, and we were the largest social network in the world before MySpace. So I was thinking deeply about community more than 20 years ago. After Bolt, I became an angel investor and then became a VC. I joked that I went down the crypto rabbit hole 13, 14, deep enough that the Wall Street Journal wrote a story on Bitcoin, quoting me as Wall Street's Bitcoin expert, but I did not see the crypto light. The price was going down the whole time. I think it's a lot harder to see when the price is going down. And then I was a VC investing in tech companies founded by Israelis when on June 29th, 2017, I saw the crypto light, and I've been 24/7 crypto ever since. Again, my passion is community. I have a day job as a partner at Blockchain Co-Investors, which is a crypto fund to fund. We're invested in 43 of the leading crypto VCs. And I'm CEO. We have a crypto SPAC, so that's been interesting. But again, around community, I'm most known for having started CryptoMondays, which is now the largest crypto meetup in the world with 57 active chapters. And in July 2022, I started the CryptoOracle Collective. We're a decentralized Web3 advisory service. We started with 24 Web3 experts when we launched, and today we're over 250, have a growing roster of clients, trading token on Base, symbol COC. And last month, the collective started an AI Web3 accelerator.
So sounds like you're super busy. So we'll have some questions about your lifestyle and how you're able to manage this crazy life. But maybe we can dig deeper into different activities and learn more about each. It's kind of let's start with the community first. So you're initially you didn't plan to create a global community, right? So maybe you can share how it started and then what did you do to make it global? Yeah.
Sure. So the genesis of CryptoMondays, I'd actually been a longtime meetup shareholder, and the CEO would always ask me, when are you going to start a meetup? When are you going to start a meetup? So I started a meetup a long time ago. And by the time I got into crypto, I had started a few meetups. And about 4 or 5 months after I got into crypto, I got an email from a bar restaurant saying, hey, you do meetups. We're a bar restaurant. If you want to do a meetup on a Monday, we'd be happy to host you for free. And I thought about it 2 seconds and I wrote him back, thanks for your kind offer. But what I'd really like is 10% of the bar on every Monday till the end of time. And they said, great, when can you start? So we started in January 8th, 2018, which was literally the peak market cap day for 2 years. We were actually celebrating the start of crypto winter. And we had 300 people at the meetup. I'd done lots of meetups, never had 200 people at a meetup, let alone 300 people at a meetup. The following week, we had 350 people and 3 TV crews when it decided to blow it out around the world, decentralized. We started with no rules, but after 3 months, we had to institute one rule. And the one rule of Crypto Mondays is you are not allowed to email me and ask me permission to do something. What part of decentralization didn't you fucking understand? And I think the degree it's been a success, it is because we are truly decentralized. So we started decentralized, and everyone who runs a Crypto Monday gets to do whatever they want, optimizing, for their city and for whatever it is that they're trying to optimize for. Because unless the organizers get more out of Crypto Mondays than they're putting in, they're not going to do it for very long. And any rule that you would put in, I think, would make it more difficult for them to get more out of it than they're putting in.
And especially because it's so widely spread, I mean, across the world, different cultures have different ways of doing things, and I just don't think having that centralized rule system would work.
Exactly. Exactly. And I get asked all the time, well, if you don't have any rules, how do you keep up the quality? And I say, well, if somebody throws a really bad event, nobody goes.
No,
That's really
like they will go once and then they will not go, right? It's kind of
Yeah, exactly.
so
And the
how do
person
you,
won't do it again.
right? And is there any system that you use to manage the community across the chapters?
I gave the Crypto Mondays to a DAO about 3 years ago. And like a lot of DAOs, I think they struggled to really be effective. So Crypto Mondays is now managed by the CryptoOracle Collective DAO. We're really starting to scale sponsorships around the world. There's really nobody else you can go to and say, hey, I want to have events in these 5 cities. And have somebody come and bring a community, a lot of community members to that event. And so the business model is, if we raise sponsorship money uh, globally, kind of at the parent level, we split half of all that revenue with the individual chapters, and a number of the individual chapters have gotten quite good at raising sponsorship funds themselves. And the individual chapters, if they raise funds, they get to keep 100% of it.
Wow. Cool. Yeah, that's great. And do you see kind of how many chapters do you have right now, and how many would you wish to have?
We have 57 active chapters today, and we're adding, about 1 to 2 new ones a month. I've had the pleasure of going to 34 so far. Right now, they're growing faster than new ones I can go to, but they've been great. And obviously, a lot of the ones that I go to, I really, really love. So I also go multiple times. So I was just Crypto Mondays Dubai for my 3rd time. The week before that, I was at Crypto Mondays Zurich for my 3rd time. And the week before that was Crypto Mondays Paris. And that was the 5th chapter that started. And Crypto Mondays Paris grew and grew until it became Paris Blockchain Week.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know the story of Paris Blockchain Week, that
Yeah.
Crypto
And
Mondays was the inception. Cool.
yeah. The highlight of my year is Michael Amar, who runs Crypto Mondays or Paris Blockchain Week. And it's really, I think, one of the epic global conferences. And he's kind enough to ask me to be one of the MCs every year for the main stage. And that's always an annual highlight.
That's great. Yeah, I saw you on stage. Good job. Um, cool. So let's kind of explore the fund of funds, right? It's kind of you are quite actively deploying capital into other funds. Maybe you can share a little bit why fund of funds, when did you guys start, and yeah.
Sure. I joke that I went to UCLA undergrad and I got an amazing education. And I went to Stanford Business School and I made amazing contacts. And it turns out contacts, much more monetizable. And so, husband wife that I went to business school with, Matthew Lamerle and Allison Davis, they stayed around Palo Alto post graduation, and both of them killed it. And their family office made their first investment in a VC in 2014. They were among the first money into blockchain capital, the seminal crypto VC firm, and Allison still chairs their advisory committee. And fast forward to 2019, they were their family office was an LP in 10 crypto VCs when they started the crypto fund of fund, and they asked me to be an advisor because I was a friend and a guy in crypto, and I was happy to advise. I became a partner in 2021 to help do one-off investments that they were, again, a lot of opportunities from the VCs that they were investing in to get into really good deals. And for me, I love the idea of a fund to fund. The analogy I use for where we are as an industry, the Web3 industry is it feels very much to me like 1993 internet. The internet had been around, at that time, 25 years, so it wasn't new. But still, nobody really used it because it was too hard. It was too complicated. And then Mark Andreessen brought us the browser, and everything changed. And so, for me today, I don't think anybody really knows what the winners are going to be, in 5 or 10 years, right? There was a day when it looked like Yahoo was going to be the winner, and everybody was, was almost certain about it because they had such a big lead. But we all know there's nothing constant but change. And, what I love about a fund to fund is, I'm pretty sure that for the next 30 years, Web3 as an industry is going to go up and to the right. And I'm pretty sure that if you intelligently own everything, that you're going to crush it. And that's what a fund to fund does. We are at literally about 1,000 investments today across all of the VCs that we're invested in and the one-offs that we do. And I think we own an interest in more companies than anybody. And I'm pretty sure if Web3 succeeds, and we're all in obviously on Web3, I think our fund to funds is going to do extraordinarily well.
And how do you guys choose a fund where to deploy capital? Is it geographical or what is?
What we're solving for is, at 43 VCs, when by the time a project gets to the C or D round, we're in it, 4 or 6 times, right? So, we're not solving for getting into the C or D round of the best companies. What we're solving for is to get into the seed round of the best companies. So when we meet a new VC, we're really trying to think, given all of the other VCs that we're invested in, is there a reason to believe that this person, has a strategy that, that they are likely to, get into one or more crypto unicorns that we're at the seed round that we wouldn't otherwise get in. And that could be from their geography. So, I think one of the last new VCs that we added was, the Collider Venture, which is a leading VC in Israel, as an example, or it can be in a sector. We've invested in, people who are doing, DeFi, as an example. I mean, that's not a new sector, but, it certainly, has grown dramatically. And, we probably did that, like a couple years ago. Just as as we're continuing to add, but at a pretty slow pace.
And how do you raise capital into the fund of funds? It's kind of what is the selling point to your LPs?
Yeah, the selling point is exactly what I said earlier, is that we believe that this is that Web3 crypto blockchain broadly, as a technology, is in the early days. It's going to go up and to the right for 30 years in terms of the value that it's creating, right? I mean, Solana as an example, right? I mean, it broke all records for getting to $100 billion in value. So the pace at which we're seeing value accrue was the world had never seen it until we saw AI. And so, again, there's nothing constant but change, and there's always going to be a shiny new object. For me, I spent a lot of my time going after shiny new objects, and most of them were shiny, and that was really fun. But now I'm at the point of my career where I really want to take advantage of compounding and do the same thing for 30 years. And so when new things come along like AI, and and AI won't be the last shiny new object, we can bring those new objects to crypto, like we're doing with AI with our AI Web3 accelerator.
That's actually our next question. We saw that you'd launched your first cohort of 10 Web3 AI startups. Be awesome just to hear more about that and the intersection of AI and Web3 that you're most excited about.
Sure. So my first startup, the .tv Corporation, we bought the top level domain .tv from the island nation of Tuvalu for 50 million over 10 years in 1999. And that company was started out of the Idea Lab accelerator in Pasadena. It was started in 1994. By the time that I joined in late '99, I was the 55th company to be started out of the Idea Lab incubator. And a month after I joined, they raised $1 billion at a $10 billion market cap. And that was more than 20 years ago, and that was a lot of money. And it was really an amazing, amazing place of ecosystem of innovation. And post that, I visited more than 100 incubators and accelerators around the world, more than anybody I'd ever met. And kind of my fascination was finally satiated in 2015. I did a TEDx talk on corporate accelerators. So I've always had a fascination with incubators and accelerators. I've really wanted to do one for a long time. And when Eric Bravik joined the collective as head of AI, I just got the idea that from Eric, that there were multiple problems that Eric really believes can only be solved by the intersection of crypto and AI, starting with decentralized identity. And so we identified 7 of those areas, and then put out the call that we were going to do cohort number 1, focused on companies solving one of those 7 problems. We've got more than 50 applications from around the world, and we're able to choose the best 10. It's really a global cohort. 8 of the members have at least one of their partners outside of the U.S., and 6 of them have both of the all of the founders outside the U.S. So it's very global. Addressing multiple different problems. And we're excited about where we're at now with cohort number 1, and we're about 2 months away from, or less than that, having the demo day for cohort number 1, and we're about 1 month away from starting recruitment for cohort number 2.
And do you guys invest in each company?
We're not investing today. We started to raise some money for the when we first decided that we were really going to do this, which was now about 9 months ago. And, we were making some progress, but, it was the dead of crypto winter. And so progress was slow, and, I tend to have a default to just doing rather than waiting. And so, what I'm very proud of is we're giving the cohort members, I think, a tremendous amount of value. We have 30 classes. Each of the classes, we have thought leaders from around, the intersection of crypto and AI come and lecture us. Last week's speakers included Avery Ching, the co-founder of Aptos, as an example.
That's great. And what are the economics for the first cohort? Like, did you take any equity tokens?
Sure. Yeah. So we take 2% of tokens and or equity, which is less than most accelerators take. Now obviously some accelerators give money, and such, but we think, outside of money, we've got a lot of grants, that have been given by various entities that the cohort members can enjoy. I think, they're learning a ton. They're already meeting VCs who, are coming in and participating in our pitch practices. So they're excited about that. And ultimately, I think will be, success will be measured by, how many of the cohort members are able to get funding.
Right. And how did you structure the CryptoOracle collective? It also has a
Sure.
quite unique
Sure.
model.
And let me also, I think one of the things that we did that was unique with the cohort is, we're taking the 2% that we're getting from each of our cohort members, and we're putting it into a pool, and we're tokenizing that pool, and 10% of that pool will go back to the cohort members themselves. So they'll each have additional incentive to help other cohort members. And I think one of the things personally that is the hardest about being a VC, about being an entrepreneur, is you have all your eggs in one basket. And so you either generally tend to make it big or not make it at all. And so what this will do is maybe even that out a little bit, in that even for those cohort members who don't become big companies, if one or two of their fellow cohort members become massive companies, it could really be a meaningful amount of money that their fellow cohort members are able to make off of the tokens that they'll have in the accelerator.
Yeah, I think Founder Institute has some kind of model like that for their cohort
Oh, that's interesting.
participants.
Yeah. Adeo is
Yeah.
Adeo has been around a while.
Right.
I just read recently the Elon Musk bio by Walter Isaacson, and I did realize that Adeo was a good friend of Elon's back in the day.
That's cool. And speaking about when you choose startups, either to accept your accelerator or to invest in, are there common themes you look for? Are there particular things that you always see as a red flag or a green flag?
Yeah. So I've been a VC for a long time, and the macro lesson that I've learned is it's not a thing. In that, I really believe that the only type of person that I've met who knows when a company starts that the company is going to be successful is the founders' moms. Other than that, everybody is throwing darts. And so before I went around, before I became a VC, I talked to a lot of my friends who were VCs, because somebody was raising me a fund, so I had 3 months to go around and talk to friends while my fund was being raised. And the among the most constant things that I heard was it's all about pattern recognition. That it takes a long time as a VC, before you get good, because you'll before you start to see the same patterns again and again. And I heard that. I've been a VC now for more than a decade, and quite honestly, I don't think we see enough patterns for it to be statistically significant. I think my view as VC is companies, and also when I got in, I very quickly I realized the same VCs are in the top decile year after year after year after year. Now, are they smarter than everybody else? Do they work harder than everybody else? Well, what I believe is companies start off and nobody knows if they're going to be successful, and they beg VCs for money, and they beg VCs for money, and they beg VCs for money. And then to some tiny percentage of those companies, something happens. And for whatever reason, everybody thinks they're the next Google or Facebook. And then every VC starts calling them and begging to get on the cap table, and begging to get on the cap table, and begging to get on the cap table. And the top VCs are the ones, when they call and beg, like everybody else, they get on the cap table, because, who doesn't want Mark Andreessen to be on their cap table?
Yeah, it's kind of you mature with time as well, right? It's kind of the longer you are in the game, more founders come to you. You get referrals from
Exactly.
existing founders or people that you founded in the past. So it's yeah. But do
Exactly.
you
Or you build
see
a brand. Or you build a brand. I
right?
was able
That's right.
to build a brand in Israel
Yeah.
whereby I was able to get, a far better caliber of company in Israel than I was in the U.S. Where I had been, an operator and an angel investor for more than a decade. But but I hadn't built the brand where the best companies, in the U.S. wanted me on their cap table. But I was able to
Yeah.
do that.
Like let's say 15 years ago, there was no strong bridge to US, right? So Upwest Labs, they were a great
Yeah,
bridge to
exactly. Out
Silicon
west is great.
Valley.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
but to New York, like where you are based, there was no one, right? Because now you have the New York kind of mapped, right? So guy, and you have
Yeah.
Icon, it's kind
I
of
is great.
different,
Yeah.
yeah, different players that provide that bridge. I think you were one of the first, to provide the bridge to New York, which was
Yeah. No, it was
competitive.
exciting. Yeah, and I really enjoyed it, and and I'd still be doing it if I hadn't seen the crypto light.
Yeah, and quick question about the founders, right? It's kind of I feel like founders that you meet in crypto world are different from founders in the regular VC. So how do you differentiate? What is real in the crypto world?
Sure. So, first, the best thing to do is invest in people who you've worked with previously. When I was running my fund, the largest investment I made was in a husband and wife team that I'd actually bought the husband's company 10 years earlier. It was a small company. It was actually the leading uh, distributor of video on the internet at the time. So this is in the early days of video, and YouTube was the number two player, and Yashi was the number one player. So, anyways, and so if you know people and work people, because obviously a huge part of it is the management. But until you actually start working with somebody, you can read a lot of stuff on the in somebody's resume and background. Obviously, if they've had multiple startup successes before, that's a or even one, that's a great sign. Bill Gross from Ideal Lab, I mentioned the incubator that my first company started out of. He did an epic TED talk in 2016 where he did a data-driven analysis of the more than 250 companies by that point he had started to find out what the key factors driving success of startups was. And he said during the TED talk that he called it Idea Lab because he thought it was all about the idea, and then after a couple years he realized it was all about management. And then he ran the numbers, and it turns out that the dominant factor driving success of startups is timing. It's when you do what you do, which makes sense.
No, but in crypto, you get companies traveling all over the world, and you as a VC, you might invest in a company in Japan or in company in Latam or in New York, or right. It's kind of it's a little bit different mindset as an investor than traditional VC in New York that typically invests in those that in New York or coming to New York. So what is the mindset shift that you had to do?
Sure. So I guess it's a good question. I mean, I haven't, I guess I've always been global. Um, in my perspective, I think the when you're pitched ideas, for me, I've always thought that my superpower, to the degree that I had one, is I'm really good at taking a look at something going up and to the right, extending it out, and going, oh my God, and and having conviction. So, for me, when I look at a company, if they do have a user base, um, I'm very focused again, on community as an investor. I think ultimately when we come up with valuation metrics for protocols, I believe those metrics will be community based. So I'm really trying to get a strong sense for the community, both viscerally by going to these ecosystem events, and as well as metrics. Yeah, I have a very simple view that you're either growing the engagement of your community or your community is dying.
That's fascinating. And do you think community is more important in crypto than other sectors, or do you think community is just very, very important for everything?
Well, when I think about the difference between Web 2 and Web 3, for me, I think Web 2 companies are optimizing for, how much money they make off their customer, right? How much margin they make off their customer. That's what they brag about literally on their conference calls, is how much margin they made off of their customer. And obviously there's nothing wrong with that. That's capitalism. But to me, what Web3 is all about how much utility can I give my community member. And so to me, it's a very, very different mindset.
Yeah, that is true. And it's kind of lots of the Web3 ventures. They kind of have token economics that may not work, but they, but they're able to generate the community, right? It's kind of they're great community builders, and so what drives you more, like the business model or the community? Of course, kind of the answer is community, right?
Sure. To me, so I go around giving a talk called 10 Thoughts on Community because, I've been thinking about it a while and I've learned a few things. And I start by, what does community even mean, right? It's a word that we all use. And if I'm talking to a group of 5 people and I ask them what community means, you can get very disparate answers from people. And about half the time I have to say in 30 seconds, because people are very passionate about community and they can go on and on and on. But to me, if you distill down, most of the good explanations, definitions that I get, if you distill it down and distill it down to its bare essence, what a community is to me is it's an ecosystem where when it works, everyone gets more out of it than they give. And, who doesn't want to be a part of that? And so, that's what I'm looking at when I look at communities is, what are they giving to their community members, and how are the community members valuing it? I have, one of the other 10 thoughts, and I think it's my most, the greatest insight that I have into community is my belief that communities can scale, highly correlated to what I call value delta. So in other words, a community manufactures something for community members at a cost of X. Community members get it and they value it at Y. And the bigger the difference between X and Y, the bigger the community can become. And that's why, if you think about it, the biggest communities in the world are actually the things with the biggest value deltas. And we have a collective name for those things. You know what we call those things? Any guesses? We call those things religions. And that's why they scaled to billions of people and lasted thousands of years. They produced a book for 25 cents. And how much is salvation worth?
Yeah,
it's an interesting
Yeah.
very interesting parallel. And speaking of communities, and we've seen a bunch of tools to help build communities. We've got DAOs, meme coins. I've read some of the stuff you've written on meme coins. It'd just be great to get your opinion on those tools and how effective you think those really are.
So, we're in the very early days still of, of building DAOs. I had the collective we have, as I mentioned, the AI Web3 Accelerator. We have 30 classes. Every class we have, thought leaders come in and teach us on various topics. And the last class we had was on decentralized governance. And we had Ivan Farchinov, a long time member of the team at Aragon. I think today he's the ecosystem lead, come and talk to us. And that's really, Aragon has been thinking deeply about governance for years, and and how to optimize DAOs. And I think they've given everything they've learned, they've kind of scaled back kind of their views on DAOs and how pervasive DAOs can be, and used to manage complex organizations. And so I think we're in the early days, but it works in DeFi better because you don't need to change as fast. In DeFi, you can create a DeFi protocol and can essentially just do the same thing for years and years. But most organizations need to evolve, and change very rapidly, and that's difficult to do in kind of, some of the early DAO structures.
Yeah, still very early, aren't we? So it's just fascinating to kind of watch what works and what doesn't work, and trying to figure out the ingredients that contributed to the success.
Yeah, I say, one of the things that gives me the most confidence is, this isn't about perfection, right? This is about creating a better world, and what we're competing against. I think the bar is so low that,
Okay.
we got to be able to do better than that.
Yeah. And can we let's switch to your lifestyle, right? It's kind of you travel so much, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
you know, like hosting events, attending events, running all these different businesses. How do you manage everything and still kind of sane? You know, what do you
Uh,
do?
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I saw the crypto light on June 29th, 2017, I was literally in a manic state for 3 months because I felt like I had seen the future, but it was fuzzy. And it wasn't until I published my construct called Seven Thoughts on Crypto after 3 months down the rabbit hole that I was finally able to have my first good night's rest in 3 months. And, I personally feel that we're at a really unique moment in history. I mean, it feels like, again, the beginning of the internet, and it's incredible. And and it's not just crypto; it's all of these different technologies all at the same time. Obviously including AI. And so, I kind of work 24/7. I don't really have, um, any other major
No work
major
life
event
balance.
that I spend my life on, and I love it, and it's been awesome. It's I appreciate that in some ways it's small minded, to really not use mind share on anything else. And I think the best life hack I had over the last few years was I completely stopped thinking about, reading about, talking about politics because I think it has a negative ROI. I was actually on the plane from Breakpoint in Lisbon in 2021, and I was flying from Lisbon to Barcelona, short flight. I was asked to speak at a conference called Democracy Now, and and they asked me as a community leader, that what do I feel about democracy? And I'm on the plane, and I'm really trying to dig into my soul, and what do I feel about democracy? And I'm thinking, and I'm thinking, and I'm thinking, and then it hits me like a lightning bolt. Not a fan. I think if democracy had an epic run. I think, if you go around to countries like Singapore or Dubai, you're like blown away by how much better they are for its citizens, than democracy is as it's practiced in most countries today. And that's when I decided I've got to stop going to conferences that aren't crypto conferences.
It's
Okay.
interesting.
And what do you do? Kind of, do you do sports? Like, how do you balance? Do you meditate? It's kind of, what do you do for your body and soul?
So I think for my body, the best thing I do is I walk 18,000 steps a day. So,
Wow.
traveling a lot, walking is the best way to see a city. I still play some sports, but I think the majority of and so, that's burning a lot of calories. And I think that's, spending a lot of time thinking, about different things, as well. I've gotten into mindfulness. I was asked to do Crypto Mondays Davos, starting in 2022. And I befriended a llama on that trip, and so that's helped with my. That's what started my mindfulness journey.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. He's I befriended him, and he was kind enough. He gave the opening remarks at Crypto Mondays Davos, this the second year, and then he gave the opening remarks at Crypto Mondays Paris this year.
Wow. Not many people can boast they have a friend that's a llama.
Yeah, he's it was really wild, after Davos we went to Zurich together, and just riding the train with him and seeing people come up and ask him questions, and then send him emails saying how it was literally the highlight of their life. And their life will never be the same. It's wild, the impact he has on people, including me. I I met him at a small party in Davos, and there was a line, short line to talk to him, and it wasn't my thing, but a friend of mine was in line, and when my friend got done talking to me, he comes over to me and says, "Hey," says, "you got to talk to the llama," and I'm like, "That's okay. It's not really my thing." He says, "No, you got to talk to him." He goes, "The llama knows about Bitcoin," and I'm like, "How much can the llama knows about Bitcoin?" He says, "Go get in line and listen to him." So I'm sitting in line, and it gets my turn now to talk, and the llama's sitting on a couch, and he's very stoic, just looking down at the ground. And I'm, I heard about Bitcoin, and he starts talking to me about Bitcoin. The first thing he says blows my mind, and the second thing he says blows my mind. I'm saying, "I'm sorry, Your Eminence, but how do you know this stuff?" And he turns his head to me and he looks me in the eye and he says, "For the last 50 plus years, I've been spending the majority of my time meditating." And then he gets this huge smile on his face, and he goes, "And I've learned a few things." And when he got that smile on his face, I was overcome with the sense of calm I had never felt in my life. It's kind of a parlor trick they have. And, all I know was that I wanted more of that calmness.
So yeah, that's that's probably one of the most unique stories I've heard. But but yeah, so he was optimistic about Bitcoin then, and the whole ethos behind it.
Yes, and he really believes that Bitcoin, is offers a true path to freedom for much of the planet.
Lou, what are your tricks to maintain your network and keep in touch with people? So you're meeting thousands of people a year. How do you choose who do you follow up with? Who do you kind of build a stronger relationship? Like, what are your tips to effective networking or building your
Sure.
network?
I'm a very active blogger. I've written over 400 crypto blog posts. And I write for me because I don't know what I think of anything till I read what I've written about it, and I hope other people read it. But most of the time, not so much. But I have a newsletter that's now, when I meet people, I add them to my newsletter. I now have more than 25,000 people on my newsletter, and so it's a great way of just I'm trying to get something out every 2 weeks. If I'm get something out every month now, that's good. I just wrote a piece with my thoughts on 2024 so far. yeah, and so that's a great way for 2 seconds. When you send an email out, you're top of mind for people. And so, every time I send out an email like that, I'll get 10, 20 emails back. "Hey, I was just thinking about you. Maybe you'd be a good fit and you get involved in this or that." So I think newsletters are a great way,
These are more drip campaigns to warm up relationships, but
exactly.
I was more referring to those people that you met, and then kind of how do you build
Sure,
strong relationship or even partnership from
sure.
acquaintances? Yeah.
So for me, the I talk about the atomic level of a community being two people, right? And we've all been in two-person communities where 1 + 1 = 100. So I believe if you live in a world of community, you actually live in a world of abundance. And if 1 + 1 can equal 100, then you can give people one, and if they give you nothing back, that's fine. You can do that 50 times, and then if the 51st person gives you 100 back, right, you're way ahead. So, I if there's somebody I meet who, I think is, doing something interesting and has the same community ethos, to me, I only want to work with people who share my community ethos. Then, I'm very happy to put my toes in the water with somebody and see if 1 + 1 = 100. And again, I'm very happy, being the first one to put some time and put some effort and give something to the other person to see if then they'll give me back something that, I find a value. And if 1 + 1 does equal 5 or 10 or 100, and if it does, great. 100% of the time that you find somebody like that, you want to invest more in, because you invest more and you get more than you invest back. And so it's about finding those people. And the only way you can find those people, in my view, is just to start
Yeah,
working with them. See.
it's great advice. We should apply it. Cool. I think we are running out of time now, and thank you so much, Lou, for this podcast.